And this is why they hate blacks in America so much, the white power structure. We're the only non-white people in the country who cannot be sent home. Right. You cannot be deported. Slavery destroyed your cultural, psychological, and intellectual connection to your ancestral homeland. If the Ghanaian get on your nerve, he go back to Ghana. If the Puerto Rican gets on your nerves, he go back to Puerto Rico. If the Afro-Cuban gets on your nerves, he or she go back to Cuba. If the Chinese get on your nerves, send them back to China. If the East Indian gets on your nerves, send them back to India. If the Arab gets on your nerve, send them back to one of the Middle Eastern states. But when American Africans get on your nerves, where do you deport us to?
Birthright citizenship is going away, and people want black Americans to put the capes on and care about them, and we don't give a shit. Because every time we need another group, including people from the African diaspora, what do? You find ways to shit on our freaking legends like the Buffalo Soldiers, Harriet Tubman, so many others. You find a way to come over and undermine us. You find a way to go in and get under white supremacists, and find a way to just constantly find a way to shit on us, to show us there is no unity. We've tried the whole black and brown unity. We tried to save the freaking African diaspora. At this point, we are fucking resting. We don't give a shit. Now, if I don't speak for you, that's fine. But I can guarantee you a good chunk of black America is sick of everybody's shit. So it don't matter if you come from the freaking diaspora or any other group. We don't care.
Thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. Hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves.
I have been seeing a lot of posts from Latin people and Mexican people with this message to black people. They're saying that you all are next. Can I tell you a little secret? Black people in America, we're not immigrants. We're United States citizens, so we can't be deported. For you all to say, oh, black people next, we're not immigrants. We were born and raised in the United States of America. Our ancestors worked this land, and we are United States citizens. So stop making that post talking about you all are next to black people. It doesn't make any sense because we're not immigrants.
Let's get something straight right now. Black Americans can't be deported. No matter what social media says, no matter how the mad MAGA gets, no matter how loud the right wing screams, you can't deport descendants of the very people who built this country with their blood. And yet this conversation keeps resurfacing, sometimes as a joke, sometimes as a threat, but always rooted in deep ignorance. Today we are breaking down why this idea is not only legally impossible, but historically insulting, and why the mere suggestion is a proof that America is still struggling with its original sin. So stay with me because we are going deep on this one.
Y'all know when Latinos and Hispanics be like black Americans are next, they really thought that black Americans are immigrants. And that explains why they voted the way they voted. They try to get us up out of here. But I gotta say to the Latino community, not only did your ESL classes, but the American educational system failed you tremendously, because black Americans are not immigrants and we're not going anywhere. And this is how ill-informed they are. They really think because they're in the middle between black and white that they're white adjacent, when that's far from the truth. It's only 3 categories that's broken down in this country. You have white Americans, you have non-whites, and you have black Americans. The people in the middle, y'all just extras in this movie. The main characters are the white Americans and the black Americans, and sometimes the Native Americans make a guest appearance. This country spent too much money, trillions of dollars, in painting black people as the bad guys. That's the default, to even get rid of black Americans, as sad as that may sound. And you know who's catching on quick, who's learning the game real quick? Africans and Caribbeans. That's why they're cosplaying as black Americans. They're not cosplaying as black Americans to trick us black Americans. They're doing it to trick white Americans because they don't want to be deported.
What do you mean y'all thought we were immigrants? Y'all thought black people, black Americans, African Americans, blacks, us, were immigrants. The hardest lessons, clearly, it's going to take me a long time to learn and figure out is that other people just don't know what I know. I assume that a lot of people know what I know. That's why y'all keep saying that, huh? That makes sense, I guess. The we're next. Y'all think, what?
Now people are saying that Latinos didn't know that black Americans are not immigrants. Child, I just don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say to that. It makes sense though, because the narrative that I've always heard about why don't black Americans have the same drive or take initiative or, you know, the narrative that we're lazy, even though we worked here for free. Like, didn't you know that? Didn't you know that our ancestors worked for free for hundreds of years? Like, I thought that was common knowledge, but I guess it's not. Like, this is really bad. If this is the case, why do you even need to take away critical race theory? People don't know it now. Might as well leave it in place. They don't know it right now. They don't even know the history of black people in America. I just don't even know what to say.
Yo, people next! Yo, people next! Pray to that, motherfuckers! Yeah, get the fuck out of here! You're gonna go to hell! Don't be praying for Jesus, because I know you pray for Jesus, bitch!
This comment was racially motivated because you had a Hispanic ICE agent and you had a white ICE agent, but you targeted the black ICE agent. No smoke for your own people and no smoke for the white man. No Child Left Behind failed y'all tremendously because black Americans will never have an issue with ICE. Black Americans are U.S. citizens. If it wasn't for black Americans, they wouldn't even be over here. Y'all wouldn't even be over here. Learn your history. The Immigration Act of 1924 was only for white European immigrants, and they discriminated against non-European immigrants until the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, which was brought to you by black Americans. If you're going to be racist or anti-black American, at least be educated.
First of all, let's start with the legal facts. You cannot deport US citizens, period, because deportation laws apply to non-citizens, undocumented immigrants, green card holders, visa overstayers, but not people born in the United States who are legally recognized as citizens. So black Americans whose roots in this country go back generations are citizens by birth, and even often longer than most white families currently yelling go back to Africa. Now here's where the conversation turns bitterly ironic. The ancestors of black Americans didn't immigrate here by choice. They were forcefully brought as slaves, stripped of names, of languages, families, and identities, and still built the wealth that this country thrives on. So when people talk about deporting black Americans, they are talking about removing the very descendants of the labor, suffering, and culture that created the foundation of America. So think about that. You want to remove the heartbeat from the body and still expect it to function. It's not possible. So from music to agriculture to science to civil rights, fashion to language, black Americans have shaped the American experience in every way imaginable. So to even entertain deportation, it's not just ignorance, it's erasure. And let's not ignore the racial undertone here. No one is talking about deporting white citizens who commit crimes or Asian Americans born and raised here. So, but when black Americans demand justice, speak out, or challenge the system, suddenly the response is go back to Africa. Go back to where exactly? So most black Americans can't trace their lineage because it was deliberately erased during slavery. There is no home country to return to because this is the home. And let's be clear, deportation rhetoric is just another way to silence black voices. It's a psychological threat meant to make people feel like outsiders in a land their families were brutalized to build. So, but here's the twist. It's not working anymore. Black Americans are reclaiming space, reclaiming history, and owning their place in this country unapologetically in that matter. And maybe, just maybe, the reason some people are so desperate to talk about deportation, it's because they're terrified of what happens when black Americans claim the power they were never meant to have. So no, you can't deport black Americans, but you can sit down, listen, and finally accept the truth that black Americans are not guests. They are the unpaid founders of this nation, and they're not going anywhere.